Welcome to A Slob Comes Clean, the podcast. I'm Dana White. I blog almost every day as Noni, which is short for anonymous, over at aslobcomesclean.com. That's where I share my personal deslobification process. As I figure out ways to keep my own home under control, I share the truth about cleaning and organizing strategies that work in real life for real people who don't necessarily love cleaning and organizing. Thanks for joining me today. This is podcast number 76. That's right, podcast number 76. If you would like to see the show notes for this podcast, where I link to most of the things that I mention, although it's really just the things I remember mentioning, which today I might not remember much. Anyway, okay, so if you'd like to see the show notes for this and find my other podcasts as well, go to aslobcomesclean.com/podcasts with an S. And there you will find my podcast page that has links to almost all of my podcasts. They are all there. If you go to the bottom and click on see all my podcasts here, in case we haven't linked up the most recent one directly from that page. And that will take you to the category where you can see 3 at a time. You see 3, you scroll down, and then you go. Anyway, you can also just, look in iTunes for A Slob Comes Clean, and you will find me. Okay, thanks for those of you who are patrons of the show. I greatly appreciate that over at patreon.com/A Slob Comes Clean. We had our monthly Google Hangout, which was not a Google Hangout because I couldn't get Google Hangouts to work. But it was actually a conference call. In the future, I am planning to figure out how to record those and make those like an exclusive podcast for patrons. Anyway, but I greatly appreciate that. But Jacqui, who is a patron, had sent in a question. She was not able to be there at the Hangout. So I am going to read her question and answer that because I greatly appreciate that. Okay. Hi, Dana. I doubt I'll be at the Hangout as it'll be 2 a.m. for me, so I should be asleep. So I thought I would ask you questions in case you run out of things to talk about. Me. Anyway, I feel like I've reached a bit of an impasse in my decluttering. I've gone through a lot of the easy, visible areas and some of the more invisible areas, though I suppose some of it has been organizing rather than decluttering, with the actual removal of stuff still to come. Now I've started to mess up things again, so I could go back and look at those areas again, or I could try to start my big spare bedroom mess, but it's so big, I'm paralyzed by it. I've only been decluttering since the summer. What would you do, or what did you do? I'm not sure at what point you worked on your office, game room, spare room, but mine is a similar sort of thing. Plus, I need to make it so my husband and I can move in there while our master bedroom is decorated. And after that, it may become my daughter's room or a homeschool room. The uncertainty is making my paralysis worse. Would you split it into different areas to work on? Thanks so much. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of answer this question. Just so you know, because those of you who have been so amazingly kind to send me emails and it doesn't even matter if you send an email, but just if you have prayed for me over this time of writing that book, I greatly appreciate it. And your prayers have been answered because I am done. This is the 20th as I record this. I know I usually try to get my podcasts out on Wednesdays or Thursdays, and today is a Friday, but hey, it's happening. And that's what's amazing in all of this. Because I sent in my manuscript last night. Like, it was kind of a little thing in my head to go, okay, I'm going to do this early because I finished it, I think on Monday. And then I read back through it and for 2 days. And then I worked it, went through and made corrections and things from different people who'd read it for me. And anyway, yesterday I was determined to read through the whole thing again out loud, which I've done many times, but that really helps you to catch things when you read it out loud. And I made it probably a third of the way through yesterday. And it's just like, I just hit a wall. I mean, I was just like, okay, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. I've read through it a million times. I'm pretty confident I'm good with everything. And I had just gotten 2 emails from people who had read it. When I woke up that morning, I had 2 emails saying they loved it. And so I was like, you know what? Why am I reading this again? And so I just sent it off last night. So that is like a huge weight off my chest. And I am thrilled to head into Thanksgiving holidays without that on me. So I really greatly appreciate your encouragement. I appreciate emails from those of you. I mean, I can't even tell you how many times during this whole process I would question, seriously, why am I writing a book about home management? This is me. And I know, I mean, the book is totally honest and completely honest, and I don't pretend to be anything I'm not, but still, I mean, when you look at it, I'm writing a book about home management, which is just halfway or all the way crazy. I don't know. Anyway, but at different times where I would really question things, I got emails or comments from y'all, basically telling me a story of something, either telling me how much it helped you to hear that somebody else is not perfect, which is the main gift I have to give anyone, or, just telling me a story of how, one of these decluttering strategies that I've had to come up with the hard way in my life, helped you break through something in your house. So I really appreciate all of you, whether or not you send things in, because I know I'm not somebody who ever really sends in emails or whatever. I just think in my head how appreciative I am for stuff. But I really appreciate you and each and every one of you who downloads this podcast. So that is enough sappiness for today, but I'm so super tired that sappiness is coming more easily. So, okay, so Jacqui's question basically is two parts that I want to address, but I'm going to first address the part in the second part of her question. Okay, so she's asking about my office / game / spare room. And there are, let's see, I think I did a series of posts, which wasn't really a series of posts. It was just several weeks in a row I shared, the progress that I was making working on that room because I really focused on it. For those of you, oh, wow, that was embarrassing. For those of you who have not been around for a long time, this is a room in my home. I'll give you a little bit of the history. So I love my house. I mean, I dream of having a house kind of out in the country, but I do love my house. I'm very thankful for it. It's far from perfect, especially lately with the leaks we've had and all this crazy stuff. But I do love it and I'm very thankful. But I have 2 living areas, which is like, I mean, when I stop and think about it, it's kind of hard. I came from, I grew up in an area that is now extremely affluent. I don't live there anymore. But a lot of my friends have really humongous homes. We're talking like really big homes. And they're beautiful and they have lots and lots of rooms. But, I kind of enjoy living in a little bit smaller area where I see a little bit more like, okay, this is what more people live like. They just live in pretty normal homes, And so I realized that having 2 living areas is kind of a huge luxury. I mean, it just is. And I love this one. I love that it has a room that closes. I mean, it has a door that closes. So it's not even like, 2 living areas, but you can still see it. I mean, it has a real full-on door in it, but it's a living area. And the history of it is that when we moved into this house, when we purchased this house, that was my eBay room. That was my room that I filled with junk. Total junk, like stuff I didn't want for myself, but that I was buying at garage sales like a maniac because I might sell it on eBay. So the room held the things I was selling on eBay, and it also held the things that I had purchased and then came home and realized, oh yeah, that's never going to sell on eBay because this was before smartphones. So even with smartphones, you don't know, which I wrote about in the book. So anyway, and it's also on the blog. Should you sell it on eBay? I'll try to remember to link to that. But so this room is... It's way too, I mean, when I think about it, I think seriously, I used a room that humongous for an eBay room. I mean, honestly, that's one of those times where I just want to shake myself. Like if I could go back in time, I would shake myself. But you know what? I know from experience that the me back then would have argued the me now. I would have said, you don't know what you're talking about. I'm selling on eBay and this is making money for my family and it's really, really fun and blah, blah, blah. I mean, I would not have listened. So it only is through experience, only through living it, only through having less in my house and experiencing, oh my word, I love having less, that I am where I am now. So I know I couldn't even go back and shake myself, besides the whole, I don't have a time machine. But So this room is big. I actually measured it ish. I couldn't find my tape measure. Shocker. But, I walked it out and I did the math, and that room is like 400 square feet. For those of you who are not in the U.S., don't you do like square meters? But I think it's even measured differently. But anyway, it is a good sized room. I mean, really, it's a great sized room. It's not a huge room, but it's a good sized room. It's bigger than a bedroom. It's kind of significantly bigger than a bedroom, or a standard typical bedroom. So that room went through different, went from being an eBay room. I cleared it out, but I still had so many issues with it. Well, as I shared the progress of that room on the blog, and this is quite a few years ago, 3 years ago, maybe 4, possibly, the comments that I got from you were amazingly helpful. And the main comment that people kept saying over and over again, which ended up helping me the most, was decide what that room is for. If you continue to call it, and I did, I called it over and over, my game room / guest room / office. They said, if you continue to call it //, you're not going to be able to make the best of that room. You need to decide what it is. So I did. I decided it was my game room. That's what it is. Now, it has a computer and a desk in there, and it has, and that is where our guests stay. We have a pull-out couch, which they love. But anyway, that is our guest room. It totally is all of the things that I was calling it before, but by defining it as a game room, that just gave me this freedom to make it what it was. So, I mean, the whole multi-purpose rooms is not as wonderful as it sounds. Instead to say, this is what this room is, and then, it also has a computer desk in it, and it's also where our guests stay, but it's our game room. That's what it is. It is our game room, and that really made a huge difference. So that is, that's really important. So you and your husband are going to stay in there while your master bedroom is being decorated, which is great. I'm thinking that you're either from England or Australia because you spelled organizing with an S instead of a Z. So I'm not sure if your bedroom being decorated means remodeled or not. I would love to know in the comments here on podcast number 76, if that is the case. But so I'm not sure, like in my mind, I think, well, decorated might take this amount of time. Remodeled is a much longer, more extensive period of time. But, so if you're going to stay in there, I mean, I don't know if you want to make it one thing for now, and then when that is over, you go on with it. But as a general rule, I would say deciding what it needs to be is going to be a huge key for you. And that's because I know it was a huge key for me. So, is it primarily an office that you sleep in when you need to, or you put guests in? Is it primarily an office where your kids also go to play computer games in your office? Or is it a game room where you also do office work? I mean, for us, honestly, I called it an office, but that was back when we didn't have a laptop, and that was our only computer in the house. And that was where I went to do any kind of office type work, where now we really don't do that. That's basically my answer to the first part of that question. That, and Jacqui said, the uncertainty is making my paralysis worse. And I think you basically answered your own question there. The uncertainty is making your paralysis worse. Actually, it said here, and after that, it might become my daughter's bedroom or a homeschool room. I think, if your daughter is 2, which you'd said earlier, and you're talking about homeschool, then we're probably talking 3 years away at least. And another part of my learned from the very hard way experience is another thing I would tell myself going back is live for right now. I mean, if it's going to be 3 years before that can be a homeschool room, then don't put that into the equation of what that room's going to be. Go ahead and make it a game room right now or an office. And then in 3 years, you can shift it into being a homeschool room. But, those types of things are, they make your uncertainty worse. They make your paralysis worse. So anyway. Okay. The other part of the question, is I've gone through a lot of the easy visible areas and some of the more invisible areas. Now I've started to mess things up again, so I could go back and look at those areas again, or I could try to start the big spare bedroom mess. I get your pain. I really, really do. But again, what I've learned from the hard way is go back. When you go back, okay, so let's just kind of go through this a little bit more. I know my brain is seriously weird today, but let's say when I go through my house and I, declutter different areas, start decluttering more and decluttering more, those areas that I worked on before get cluttered again. That's life. Unfortunately, as someone who tends personally to reclutter really, really easily, like it just happens, I also have to re-declutter a lot, okay? But the thing is, I think you have to remember that re-decluttering is perfectly fine. It's a thing, okay? Part of the problem for me was that I really thought that one day I would get my house decluttered and my house would be done being decluttered, okay? And I would never have to go back again. Well, that's not going to happen ever for me. But it's a continual process for me as someone who tends to, not notice as things are getting recluttered. So what I had to realize was, okay, if I'm never going to be done, then I just have to keep going back and re-decluttering. But re-decluttering is so much easier than decluttering. So when you look at those spaces and you think, oh my goodness, that space is getting out of control again. And you think, oh, great. I don't want to have to go back. I'm never going to make any progress. But the thing is, if you go back to that space that you decluttered already, when you go back, it's going to take probably way less than half the time it took you to declutter it the first time, because it has been decluttered before. So the only stuff in it is going to that doesn't need to be there is going to be stuff that's been added since the time you decluttered last time. So that's going to be pretty easy. You're already going to have thought through the purpose of this drawer because you decluttered it another time. So that you don't have to break through that. And the other thing too for me is I will go back and re-declutter a space and pick up something that last time I worked on that space, I hemmed and I hawed and I thought, oh my goodness, can I really get rid of this? I just don't know. I have to keep it because I just don't know. Well, when I come back to that space to re-declutter it, I look at that same object that just absolutely tore me apart last time and I go, oh my goodness, I can't believe I was so worried about this. I haven't used it since I was so worried about it. So I can get rid of that now. Doesn't even matter. It's just amazing the difference. So re-decluttering isn't going to be anywhere near as stressful as it was when you first decluttered it. And so go back because progress is so important. And that's the frustrating thing about visible clutter. The visibility rule that I have where you have to start with what's visible first is visible areas get recluttered more often because they get used more often. But every time I declutter those spaces, it's easier than it was the last time. And eventually I start to view that space, even though I'm not really totally there yet, but eventually I start to view that space the way other people do, which is this isn't a decluttering project. This is just me picking up my house, So, but I still see everything as a decluttering project. I mean, I see an empty fast food cup on the fireplace and I think, oh, that's a decluttering project. It's not. It's just throwing that away. But I still think that way. So there's a possibility you're still thinking of it as a decluttering project where maybe it's just a maintenance project, but even if you think of it as a decluttering project, that's fine. But just know that it's going to be so much easier when you go back. So let's say, the visible areas are getting recluttered and you're wondering, should I go back and deal with those recluttered areas or go tackle this huge and overwhelming thing? Go back and deal with the recluttered areas because you're probably going to get through them so much faster than last time and still have time to go ahead and deal with your big, huge, overwhelming project. Okay? All right. Does that make sense? I sure hope it does. All right. I've been going 20 minutes. I'm going to stop there just because I'm taking a break today. I basically never, ever take a break, but I went and rented a movie because I said, you know what? I think my brain just needs to chill for a little while after this whole 60,000 words thing is over that I've been working on for the last several months. So thank you so much for joining me today. I greatly appreciate each and every one of you. I will not be podcasting next week. So I will be back the first week in December. I am taking the week off to be with my family and just completely chill out. We are going to have some great family time, and that is our reward for life having been crazy, as Mama wrote a book. So I greatly appreciate each and every one of you, and I hope that if you are celebrating Thanksgiving with your family, that you will have a wonderful Thanksgiving, and if you are not, that you will have a wonderful week. So I will talk to you week after next. Bye.